Hello, my name is Natasha.
And my name is Debbie.
I have been teaching English for more than 17 years, and maybe what's more important is that I have been learning English for more than 30 years. And so,
And I've been teaching English for more than 20 years, mostly in Russia and Ukraine. I have my master's degree in teaching English to speakers of other languages, and I love to work with students and help them learn English.
and that's why we decided that today we will share with you 5 ways of how to break language barriers and how to start speaking more fluently. Because this is one of the biggest problems when people start learning the language, is that they have the barrier, the language barrier that they cannot break. That's why today we have a webinar and you can comment and you can ask questions, and we will start with 5 ways.
So the first way to break the language barrier is to be in a friendly and an open atmosphere. So research shows that you learn much faster and deeper when you're relaxed, when you're with friends, when you feel open and you're not afraid.
Yes, and another thing is when you are with a friend, when you're with people who you're open with, you trust those people. So when you are in this friendly and open atmosphere, you've known this person for a while, you've asked questions and you've opened up, that person starts to trust you and you start to trust them, and that helps you to break the language barrier. I've had that in my experience when I was teaching English and students came to me and they had a language barrier, but then as soon as they could relax, they started trusting me, they started speaking more fluently.
So when you're not afraid, when you're not trying to be perfect, you can learn the language so much better. It's like a child. They aren't worried about what people think of them. They're not trying to do things perfectly. They're just having fun and talking. And when you're in a relaxed environment, this is what you can do too. And of course, you've heard probably before that children learn a language better than an adult, a second language. And there's some truth in this about pronunciation. A child can pick up pronunciation without learning the mechanics of it. But actually, adults have an advantage over kids in learning language because they have pathways developed in their brain that children do not have. They have experiences that they can tie to language learning. And so if you're an adult and you're watching this, be encouraged, because if you are in a friendly and open environment, you have just as much of a chance as a child to learn English or any other language for that matter.
And you can also learn from children, because see, when they are learning, they are not afraid to make mistakes. They are not afraid to lose face. And you know us adults, we're always trying to look good, look professional, and we don't want to show that we don't know something and fail at something. So please learn from children and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't try to be perfect, because that is one of the things that really keeps people, holds them back, and doesn't let them develop their English skills and start speaking fluently and break this language barrier. So don't try to be perfect, and don't be afraid to make mistakes, and don't be afraid to lose face.
So then the first way to break the language barrier is to be in a friendly and an open atmosphere. The second way to break the language barrier is to intentionally develop relationships. So when you have a relationship with somebody, when you have a friendship, you are naturally relaxed. It creates this natural, friendly, and open environment, and it leads to trust.
Yeah, I can share with you my personal experience. For example, 17 years ago, I met a person that became one of my best friends. Her name is Annette, and when we started our relationships, we worked on developing our friendship. I got to know her, I became more open with her, and we developed this trust, and it really helped me break the language barrier, because I was not afraid to make mistakes with her, and she really helped me learn English better, practice it, and get on a next level.
So another part of this developing relationships besides trust is motivation. When you are with somebody that you like, when you have a friendship, you are motivated to talk to them. You don't have to create motivation. You have it already. And this is a big advantage. So for me, I've been trying to learn the Russian language, and having relationships with people that can't speak English really helps my motivation. For example, I have a lady who watches my door of my apartment, and she can only speak in Russian or Ukrainian. And so whenever I talk to her, I have to speak Russian, and I like her a lot. And so it forces me to learn more vocabulary, to work on my language structures, and to practice. It gives me natural motivation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there could be another kind of motivation. If, for example, you're single and you're looking for a partner, a wife or a husband, and this person speaks English, but maybe your English is not that good. That could be a motivation for you to break your language barrier because you need to communicate with that person. For example, we know one girl and her English was elementary or beginner, and she met a guy online from Canada and she started communicating with him. And because she needed to be able to express herself and she needed him to understand her very well, she actually learned. That was a great motivation for her. And so in like 9 months, she learned English so well that she moved from being an elementary student to being a teacher of English. And she started teaching other elementary students.
And so this story also shows another reason it's important to develop relationships with people is that you get lots of practice. So when you have a friendship, when you're in a relationship, you spend time together, whether it's online, whether it's through writing, or whether it's in person, and you're practicing your English.
Yeah, another example from my personal life. I once was also dating a guy who was an English speaker, and we were communicating online a lot, and he helped me practice so much. He actually created this one device, like it was a spoon, and he put a paper on, like folded a paper, and it was on both sides. On one side he had an article "a," and another side had the article "the." So 2 articles, and because I skipped them in my language, when we were communicating, he noticed that, and he was trying to help me. And whenever I say something and he noticed that I skipped an article, he would show me "a" or "the," and that helped me practice. Plus, of course, with Annette and with my other friends who I've developed relationships intentionally, practice was a very important thing for breaking language barriers.
So then the second point of breaking the language barrier is to develop relationships with people. A third way that you can break the language barrier is by using social media. So social media is a great way to practice English because it's a non-threatening environment. You can use incomplete sentences. Native speakers make mistakes all the time when they're typing because they type quickly. So it's just, you can be relaxed when you're using social media. Also, it's the conversations are usually short. Like, for example, if you're on Facebook. So you don't have to have an hour to practice or even a half an hour. If you have 5 extra minutes, you're waiting in line somewhere, you can turn on Facebook and you can read a conversation in English to practice.
Yeah, and it's okay to write incomplete sentences. It's okay to sometimes make mistakes, so you can relax when you do that. And it can be short. You don't have to read long articles or big books. You can just read those posts that people make or comments that people make and practice. That's a really great way of not having something complicated and being able to, again, break the language barriers.
And another part of social media is, again, motivation. You want to know what your friends on Facebook are saying, and so you are motivated to read. What did they say about that picture? What did they say about that event? And so it's another good natural motivation when you use social media.
So let's review. Number 1 way of breaking language barriers is being in a friendly and open atmosphere. Then number 2 is developing relationships intentionally. Number 3 is using social media. When you do that, you can help yourself break language barriers and speak English more fluently. Then number 4, Debbie, could you share with us?
Yes, so number 4 is to immerse yourself in an English-speaking environment. How do you do that? Well, first of all, you can move to an English-speaking country and live there. You might say, well, I have no opportunity to do this, but there are many people who are seeking to do this to increase their language or for other personal, professional reasons. So, of course, when you live in an English-speaking environment, you're surrounded by English all the time, and you are forced to speak English. And so it, of course, helps you to break the language barrier.
Yeah. Well, you can go there, travel to those countries and practice there. But one more great way of immersing yourself intentionally into the English-speaking environment is to work in a company where people speak English. Maybe your partners, your clients speak English, or maybe you will just have to practice your English, not necessarily that in this company everybody speaks English. So I actually have several students that were looking for a job, and they intentionally were trying to find a company where they would need to use their English because they wanted to practice English better and they wanted to immerse themselves into this English-speaking environment.
Mm-hmm. So maybe you can't move to an English-speaking country or get a job in an English-speaking country, but you can create an English environment for yourself no matter what country you're living in or what language is being spoken around you. So how do you do that? Mm-hmm. Well, one way, you can visit English clubs or classes that are offered in your town and speak English in these environments. You can attend English seminars or webinars like you're listening to right now. Mm-hmm. One thing is, if you decide to attend seminars or choose webinars on the internet, choose something that you're really interested in. Don't watch it just because it's in English, but if you really like the topic and you want to know what's being said about it, it'll be more motivating to listen and to absorb the language.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another thing that I always suggest to a lot of my students is to change your devices, all your smartphones and computers, Facebook interface, everything into English. Because as soon as you start learning the language, you have to change your devices into that target language that will help you learn new words, that will help you start speaking in English, speaking in this language. Seriously, I don't even remember how long ago I did that, but everything that I have now is in English.
And so another thing is to watch movies, to watch series, to watch TED Talks, short clips. Anything that you're watching and listening to in English will really help you improve and will make this English environment around you. Mm-hmm. You can read books and articles and news in English as well. And again, it's important to choose topics that you're interested in or shows that you really want to watch. For example, for me, I don't really love to watch the news in my native language. And so if I try to watch the news in Russian, I don't last long. I watch for 3 or 4 minutes and I'm tired of it already because I don't really like to watch the news. But I like to watch interesting dramas. And so if I try to watch a drama in Russian, I will remember it, I will stay with it, I'll keep watching because it's interesting to me. So pick something that you really actually like.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that I tell my students a lot is that you can even just have something in the background. For example, you are busy, you're with a baby, or maybe you need to clean the house. Well, turn on the news, turn on the movie or something, and have that English speaking in the background, because believe me, our brain is an amazing thing. And even if you're not focused, even if you're not intentionally listening to what's going on, which would be better, of course, that would be much more effective, but even though you're not doing that, still your brain can pick up some words and phrases, and it will remember those phrases. And then, a month later, you will suddenly say a word and you wouldn't even remember, where did I hear that? Well, that was when you were cleaning the house and the news were on. So just turn something on and it will help you.
Mm-hmm. And also, to create this English-speaking environment, you can journal in English. So if you journal in your native language, start writing your thoughts and your dreams and the things that happened that day in English. Or start writing your schedule for the day, your calendar in English. One of my students this year, she decided to try this, and she started making a lot of improvement just in about the first month that she was in class. And I asked her what she was doing, and she said, oh, I decided to change everything in my journal and in my schedule into English. And so this is one thing that really can help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another thing that I can add is audiobooks. Because that would be a reading through listening. So you would hear a lot of new words, you would hear intonation, you would hear pronunciation, and I can tell you from my own experience that it's been very helpful and effective. I've been listening to books while I'm running, and some people don't like to listen to books.
That's me. I like music.
Yes, they'd be listening to the music when she's running, but I've started listening to books, podcasts, different radio shows, and I love it. It really distracts me from some pain sometimes when we are running a marathon, for example. I remember last marathon I was listening to a book, and it helped me to get distracted and to actually finish my marathon. So if you want to start listening to books and start running marathons, it can help you achieve some great, awesome goals.
And actually, another thing that research shows is that when you are active and studying something at the same time, there's something about the way your brain and the movement works that does help you acquire language better. So if you regularly exercise, or you want to start exercising, whether you run or whether you walk or you work out on a elliptical machine or a bike at the gym, try listening to podcasts like Natasha does, or music in English. Both of these can help your language, and you're getting two great things done at the same time, helping your body and your mind. So immerse yourself. Number 4, immerse yourself in an English-speaking environment.
Yes, and the last thing, the 5th way that we wanted to talk about is travel. Travel is a great thing, right, Debbie?
Yes, it is. Travel has all of the elements of breaking language barriers that we've been talking about. So when you travel, you're in an open atmosphere, a friendly atmosphere. You're relaxed. You're not working. You start to develop relationships with people that you're around, native speakers of the language or other travelers that you're speaking to in English. You use social media. You're looking up what restaurant, what tourist site, how to get there on your phone or on your tablet. So you're using social media, and then of course you're immersing yourself in this English-speaking environment if you're traveling to a place that has English as their native language.
Yes, it's a unique opportunity, and also you can be motivated to learn the language when you travel, because sometimes you go to countries where people only speak English, or maybe people speak a different language but they actually know English, so you can just use your English knowledge and find your way around the city, for example. So that could be a motivation that will help you break your language barriers.
And about the uniqueness of travel, when you go anywhere, whether you've been there once or you've been there 10 times, each time you go you have a unique experience. And studies show that language learning increases when you're in an unusual situation. You remember the situation better, and you will usually remember the language that you learned there or that you practiced there better as well.
Yes, and we would like to offer you also a great opportunity to go on a language tour with us. It will happen next year, so you will have the whole year to prepare and get excited about it. We will go to New York. So this will be a great opportunity because you actually will be in a friendly and open atmosphere with wonderful, interesting people, professionals like you, people who know the language already, but they would like to break the language barrier and start speaking more fluently. Then, of course, you will develop friendships and relationships with these people, with us. You will use social media because I think you will want to share some of your pictures with your friends on Facebook or anywhere else, and of course you will immerse yourself into this English-speaking environment because you will be in New York. Plus we will actually intentionally immerse ourselves into the culture of this enchanting, amazing city, and you will travel. So again, 5 ways of breaking the language barrier and starting speaking fluently. Could you repeat them?
Yes. So the first one is to be in a friendly, open atmosphere. The second way is to intentionally develop relationships in English. The third way is to use social media. And the fourth way is to immerse yourself in an English environment or create this English environment for yourself. And the fifth way is to travel. So if you want to travel with us and start your English learning adventure in New York, please click on the Learn More button that's on our website, and you can find out a lot more details. You can also write to us or ask some questions in the comment box. And we believe that if you do these 5 things that we've talked about today, you'll be on your way to speaking English fluently.
Yes, and we are looking forward to meeting you, to going on a tour with you, to communicating with you, and I think great success awaits you if you believe in yourself, and I think you can do a lot more than you think you can. So
join us.
Yes, bye.